Hello, ladies. In the last lesson, you learned the difference between hunger and appetite, and we as well spoke about small and simple changes that add up to a big results at the end. Just to recap, we discovered that hunger signals the physiological need for food from our body, and appetite is psychological want for food that comes from our mind. So I hope you got to practice that a little bit. And we spend a lot of time talking about hunger, but appetite actually plays a big role in our lives. Appetite can be stimulated by a delicious smell of one of I don't know. I make this example of the bakery. That's for me something that I really want to eat always when I pass the bakery. Maybe you saw a commercial on TV of some yummy burger in McDonald's, and you want to eat that. Appetite can be stimulated by delaying to do something, or deciding to eat lunch instead because we want to procrastinate. Um, you decide to grab a piece of cake to celebrate something. Yeah, it's somebody's birthday, or you had a promotion at work. So let's grab a prosecco. So this is all appetite. Yeah, and appetite as well can be triggered by very strong feelings. So when we eat to cope with those feelings, that's what we refer to as emotional eating. And let's be clear, emotional eating isn't inherently bad. And sometimes, a glass of wine or a dessert after a very stressful day is actually a self-care that we need. Food, both sweet and salty, energy-dense food can provide the immediate hit of dopamine, which provide us with the immediate sense of relief and comfort. So it's a little bit like a drug, um, but it's all about the conscious choices of food. So it's important to be able to recognize when emotions are driving your appetite and when you are relying on that hit of dopamine instead of dealing with the problems heads on. So emotional eating becomes a problem if it feels you worse, whether it's in the short term or long term. It can cause you health problems, which can range from digestive issues to more serious health concerns, disorder eating, and so on. Um, Results in feeling guilt or shame. So when you eat and the next day you think, well, I need to put a super good cardio session, or I need to run 10K because I ate that massive pizza. So you're punishing yourself by doing exercise, or the other way around, you're not eating the next day, you're skipping meals, you're doing low calorie days because you overate in a single day. And emotional eating becomes a problem. It's if this is your primary coping mechanism, like if you have no other ways to deal with the stressful situation, with the emotions that you're potentially bottling up. If food is literally the only thing you do, it could be a problem. So the key question is to ask yourself whether in general emotional eating is making you feel better or feel worse. If emotional eating is something you're struggling with, you might be reacting to one or both of the following triggers. The first one is suppressed emotions. So it could be anxiety, could be stress, boredom, trauma, or unmanaged stress. So either suppressed emotion or unmanaged stress are typical triggers for emotional eating. And as women and mothers, we are taught to keep our emotions under control. Yeah, plus we don't want to worry other people in our family. We don't want to worry close ones. We are at the end the rock of the family. Yeah, we are holding everything together. So very often we don't talk about our feelings, and husbands are great, partners are great, but sometimes men, they don't want to talk about those feelings as well. So if we don't have close friends, if we don't have the way to get those emotions out, we just bottle them up and we deal the best way we can deal with it. And very often that's turning into food for comfort. And sometimes this prevents us from learning healthy ways to express, validate what we are feeling, and cope with those uncomfortable, suppressed emotions. And we do keep turning to food. That's like what I said. trying to keep a lid on all these emotions is exhausting, stressful in itself. And women, moms, we are juggling a ton of different competing priorities: school, nursery, work, food, chores, beauty. We are expected to do everything and everything well. And this is a recipe for stress or hidden stress, unmanaged stress. Yeah. So, having multiple ways to manage and dissolve that stress is crucial for well being, for balanced mental health and self care, which again will ease the emotional eating. So, emotional eating is not something that we deal at the level of the actual food. So, we're not, I will give you small tips throughout how we can reduce that. But we are not really looking at restricting the food or swapping treats for healthier treats or stopping eating at, let's say, 6 p.m. because you know that your emotional eating starts at evening after kids are in bed. So we are really looking down, deep down, for the cause and the reason we turn to food for comfort. So we either resolve the stress or emotions that are causing it. Um, if that's not possible, then we put a self-care plan that doesn't involve food, to minimize the stress or avoid it in the future. So the term self-care, that's pretty popular term. It's thrown a lot around, and it's often accompanied in press or internet of women doing yoga or getting a massage or a facial. But self-care is actually much more than that. Self-care can be a strategy to deal with stress proactively. So what we want to do is actually not get stressed, avoid getting stressed. So we want to put in place little strategies to not get to that point. So again, I will get to that. um, so when we talk about self-care, we are referring to ways you care for your whole self: your health, your happiness, your desires, how much you nourish your mind, body, and spirit. So self-care can include many things. For different people, it's completely different. So don't take those points that you need to do them. But it can take form of just checking your physical health. So going to a dentist or doctor visits or physical therapy. Taking care of your emotional and mental health. So going to a therapist or going with a friend for a coffee to chat about the emotions. Saving yourself some time and stress by, for example, paying to order groceries online, or maybe you can order those ready ingredients and recipes. That can, relieve some of the stress because the food is done. You don't have to think and plan. Another thing, you can have a relaxing bath, connecting with friends. You can do journaling. I'll get to that point. Or you can do a workout. Fitness for many is a way of self-care. But as well, saying no and setting boundaries with commitments to people in your life. And these are all things to help you manage stress, to help you not get stressed, which then obviously leads to this emotional eating. One of the powerful techniques that I actually was doing that many, many years ago, I stopped now, but is journaling. So, journaling is a fantastic way to tap into and release your emotions. You can do it anytime, anywhere, it's free. And if you're not comfortable talking about your emotions with anybody, then that's the way to do it. It's by putting those thoughts on paper. It allows you to define certain things, think them over, maybe find a solution to the problem. And if you are, you're scared that somebody will read them, well, just write and burn. You don't have to keep a journal. It's about the process of really pouring those emotions on paper. So again, not saying you have to, but if it resonates with you, if you like doing that kind of stuff, you can try. And obviously we try to identify those main stressors, the acute stress, so the short-term things that, like an exam is a stressor, yeah, or going to a dentist or surgery is a short-term stress. But you can have long-term stresses, which actually these are the main culprits for emotional eating. like, situation at home, relationship problems, work problems, silly boss, co-workers that don't like you, financial problems, things like that. So um, obviously we want to identify those and write about them. So hopefully that explains to you what emotional eating is, and actually we want to address the root of the problem. So head back now to the worksheet that will walk you through identifying those causes of emotional eating in your life, but as well will force you to think about self-care plan to minimize the stress and deal with the emotions. So feel free again to share with your group. You don't have to, but I would be interested if you found anything surprising or something very difficult. Maybe we can help each other out. So moms go through a lot of pressures. We're expected to work like we don't have children and raise children like we don't work. It's very difficult. So looking for comfort is a normal and quite common strategy, so you are not alone. Um, but there are ways to deal with that emotional eating. And as I said, throughout the next few days and weeks, I'll give you some more practical points, but they will just deal temporarily with the symptom rather than actual cause of the problem. Okay? Hope you found it useful. Go to your worksheet.